Welcome to the Wed Pro Podcast, the show for wedding professionals and business owners.
Each month, we bring you top industry experts, business chat and hints and tips to grow your business.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Roxy.
Welcome to the Wed Pro Podcast. Welcome back to this episode of the Wed Pro Podcast. Today we're joined by another guest, Anna, which we're really excited to introduce. Anna Cordelia, she's coming to talk to us from Wedding Boss Pro. And Anna, you used to have a business in the wedding industry, didn't you?
Yeah, hi Katie, hi Roxy.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I still technically do. I still dip my toe into weddings every now and again. And I think because I don't do them as often now, I really, really enjoy them. But yeah, so back in 2012, I set up my makeup artistry business in the Northeast to specialise in luxury bridal makeup. And yeah, and I started with no portfolio, no wedding experience.
Yeah, we can relate.
We can relate, yeah.
Like many people listening will be able to relate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and obviously I was new to the area, so I went to London to train because I'll say back in the day, you know, there was no training in the Northeast for makeup artists or not much in beauty at all. And I think only back then people in London were having their makeup done at weddings, and also people with bigger budgets, let's say. Whereas now it's so common, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you'll have your makeup done and that's it. So yeah, I was new back in the Northeast, had no website, no portfolio, no wedding experience. I didn't know anybody in the wedding industry, but I was good at makeup. That was it, and that was all I knew. So the story is, within 14 months, I'd gone from that to completely booked out, charging very good prices, and I won my first award.
Oh, fab.
Fantastic.
It's really difficult, isn't it? I suppose people kind of relate in the industry. Like you said, you come from like no portfolio, no experience in the wedding industry and no contacts. And now, you know, it's something actually that I was thinking about yesterday, is to actually think, gosh, like how far I've actually come to where I am, to where you are now. So you touched on pricing today, which brings us great to the subject that we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about PR and pricing today, aren't we? And, you know, you've already mentioned that you were kind of catering to the luxury end of the market. Did you always know that that's the market you wanted to tap into?
Yeah, so that was interesting because once people started to say, how did you achieve it? How did you do it? And then I realised that what I'd been doing the whole time was this formula of pricing and old school PR, but I didn't know it. And while I wanted to definitely work in luxury and use the word luxury and charge a lot of money for it, I'll be really honest, I didn't think I was good enough. And I felt really awkward about it. I felt like I've got no right. It was something I wanted to aim for.
Yeah.
It was a real, but then, and this is what I'm going to talk about, it was actually thinking, nobody knows when someone's first wedding is, do they? Nobody knows when someone's starting out. This is about branding. This is, you know, if you've got the confidence and you've got the ability, and I knew I had the ability, what's stopping me from going straight into the luxury high end?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Because I feel like a lot of businesses, especially when they're starting out in the industry, they kind of
Set the bar, don't they, for themselves without actually, it's like an invisible hurdle almost, I think, isn't it?
And normally do start with, you know, taking on every wedding that kind of comes their way, setting their prices lower because they kind of feel, can I charge that much?
Like I need this work now.
But like you say, you kind of cracked it quite early there, Anna, by feeling actually this is about how I brand my business, how I kind of market my business, who I market that to. And there will be a point in people's wedding businesses, won't there? And maybe the people that are listening now have reached that point where they will start to look at those things as well.
Yeah, I started to think about it and think of it as like almost, I call it the barrel. And people have different pricing points and how they brand themselves. And I think that people, I would say, I'm not going to use the word cheap. We use value. Yeah, I would say at that point, at the bottom end of the barrel, are actually doing very well because they've been very transparent about what their target market is, who they're serving, and their brand reflects that. It doesn't mean that they're not providing an amazing service. They're just being very honest about where they are. And then equally, I would say people at the very top end of it are doing very well because they're not shy about what they're charging and what they're offering, and they're fully confident about it. I think where people struggle, and I would say this is where the majority of wedding businesses are, they're in that mass bit in the middle. Where and
I actually, we wrote a blog about pricing, probably 12 months ago. We'll link it up to the end of this because I think it fits really well in.
Yeah.
And you use that barrel analogy. I used a lake and was like, if you're trying to like fish all the fish in the lake, like that's a lot of people there. Whereas if you know you're there to fish, you know, you want to come out with the prize cup. I'm not a fisherman, so I've got no idea. I think I used like shark analogy actually. You want to be the shark that knows exactly what you're there. Because that's what I did. The sharks don't go after the little shrimpy fish. You know, They go after the big fish, like the big dinner. And if you're only after that, you've cut your competition down by a massive amount.
I think as well, when people start, there's this fear that they think, I just want to get work, or I just want to get bookings. Yeah. I am gonna reach out to everyone. I can work with every wedding. I can work with every bride. I'm going to help everybody. I'm not going to turn work down. And that just causes so many problems. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I've been there, and it was simply due to thinking, I'm just going to take the work. I've got no portfolio. Yeah. And it's just, when I'm going to suggest you need to have an avatar in mind. You need to, I would say, build the bride, give her a name. Where's she from? What does she do? What type of wedding does she want? Really get in deep, really peel back the layers about who you're targeting, who you're serving, and what that person is prepared to pay for your services. You really do need to do that. And I think the majority of people who are in the middle, who are in the mass lake, in the middle of the barrel, like all these wedding businesses, they want to charge more. They know they should, but they just can't get their head around thinking, but I'm not better than that person next to me, that other fish. I'm not, And it's purely a mindset thing. I really think it's such a mindset thing. And I think before I can even talk about the PR strategy to do with this, it's like we need to get over this block when it comes to charging what we're worth and value and the M word, the money. It just really freaks people out.
It does.
It really does.
I think quite a lot of that plays into kind of imposter syndrome and
that's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
I think at some point in every single business, everybody has those thoughts. And I think if you're not having those thoughts, it's because, maybe rephrase that, it's good that you have those thoughts because it means you are growing and you're heading in the right direction, and
you're taking those little scary steps to moving forward, like pushing yourself. I was going to say right at the beginning with the things you were saying about how I was saying, like, you almost set a bar for yourself when you start a business. A lot of it is mindset, and a lot of it is getting over the fear of, exactly like you were saying, I'm not as good as that person. Like, what makes me think I'm better than another person? But exactly what you said, Anna, the couples and the brides don't know when your first wedding was. So it's got to come from the inside.
Absolutely. I was thinking back to that as well. And I'm thinking, should I go and thank them now, my first brides? Because they wouldn't have known back then. And they're still loyal to me today. They're still following my page and they still follow my work, and I've got pictures of them. And I almost want to go up to them and go, thank you for just trusting me. And, it all just went from there. I also was thinking, when I did someone would haggle on the price.
Yeah.
And now there's just I've got loads of advice on that, but back then I'd be like, okay, we'll knock my price in half. That's fine. And I did a few of those, and I used to leave those weddings feeling really empty, and like I'd cheapened myself,
like you've done disservice to yourself almost.
I think we can definitely relate to this. So in the bridal shop, Roxy would ban me from the end of appointments because I'd be the person that'd be like, throw it in, you can have the bell, you can have the veil, no problem. I'm a sucker for a story.
You are, aren't you?
1,000,000%, I believe in love. Like I watch first dates and I'm so invested in everybody in the restaurant, and I'm like, whereas, you know, people were coming to us. We specialised in kind of the lower end of the market. That was our avatar. That was our client. So people did come with a story because they, you know, had been to other shops and they'd been outpriced with their dress. So yeah, Roxy would definitely say, no, Kate,
just gives you that look, almost like.
And then it's also harder. And this comes from absolute experience for us. We got to a point where we were VAT registered, and we'd marketed ourselves at, you know, low, kind of really good value dresses,
like affordable wedding dresses,
sitting at kind of like the £600-700 mark they were then. So we were looking at the average price of a dress back then was about £1,200, wasn't it? And we were about half of that, up to about £800. We kind of brought out a bit of more of a luxury brand, didn't we? And we were pushing the prices up. But then VAT comes along, and all of a sudden you have to charge kind of 20% more. And that is very difficult. And I speak from experience, it's very difficult to then, we had 4 years of business behind us of being known for kind of great quality dresses at, you know,
really great prices.
At great prices. We came with the whole experience, didn't we? Like, we were giving people like good experiences in the shop, like champagne, cake, all of that sort of stuff. And then justifying like a jump by like £300-400 was so difficult. And I would never recommend this. And this is one of the biggest mistakes, you know, I ever made in the business back then, was we made the decision at the beginning to swallow the VAT. And oh my word, yeah, Anna's looking at me like, what? That's like profits. Like,
yeah,
we were, and actually what I needed to do, and it was more like a panic. And this is, you know, great that we're talking about this, and great that we're talking about pricing, and I'm sure you're going to talk about planning at some point, Anna. But I kind of was like, okay, we've got to register for VAT. We're at the VAT threshold now. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And actually, what I should have done is sat and made a plan as to like how we're going to tackle this. So yeah, for a long time we were swallowing the VAT, and for a long time I didn't pay myself because we couldn't afford to pay me in the shop anymore. And that's where people are heading, aren't they?
Absolutely. And again, I don't know if it's because we're British or it's this awkwardness, and it's because we're nice and we're people pleasers. I would say especially women in the wedding business. Oh, I don't know why we do it. And it was actually me planning and going a bit corporate, you know, and getting a spreadsheet out, that suddenly within the first few months of my business going, what I'm doing isn't right. Even in the long term, it's not going to work. And it was simply putting down, this is what changed my mindset overnight, was actually, how much do I want to make?
Yes.
How much do I want to pay myself? And how many weddings do I want to do before I completely burn out? And it was simply thinking, just adding, you know, not a few quid, but, you know, a slight bit on different services, and thinking I could do less weddings and I could still earn that, or I could do more weddings and earn even more. But it was something like, even if at that point when I started out, if I do 50 weddings a year, I'm barely going to be able to put food on the table for what I was. I said, so this is silly. And also what I'm offering and what I'm giving. And when I, you know, it's just realising my value and realising my worth and what I wanted to achieve. And then it just simply came down to numbers. And then I'm thinking, why am I scared of this? They're just numbers. They're just numbers.
And I think without planning in every aspect of your business, you've got nothing to kind of measure anything on, have you, really?
And something that kind of someone told me when I was first starting my own business, and I went on like a little course to kind of get my head around. It was like a super 4-day, one of those ones at the bank run some of the time. People might have gone on one. And they were saying, oh, you know, it's very difficult to increase your prices. Whereas, you know, if you set your price, if you want to run an offer, not all of the time, because that's cheapens your services and cheapens what you do and damages your brand, you've got scope to kind of come down, whereas the opposite way round, it's very difficult.
Absolutely. And I think it's just very much about, are people worried about what's going to happen when they increase their prices? Are they worried about, are people not going to like me? Are people going to talk about me? What are other people in the wedding industry going to say about me?
Yeah.
And you're thinking, or you could increase your prices and really good things could happen, like you could get paid, or in this case, be proud of increasing your prices, be proud to put it out there, be proud to talk about them, be proud to be to whatever part of the pricing scale you are, to just be proud about it and to represent it.
What point do you market your prices? So you have these kind of two camps of people, don't you, Anna? That you kind of have the camp of people kind of on the one side who wait for people to kind of get in touch with them before they give out their pricing, or they might have a conversation with them or get on a call before they put out their pricing, who may kind of feel that they need to kind of build a relationship with people before they hand over their prices, or to kind of justify their prices. Maybe it'd be interesting to hear your point of view on this. And then you have this other kind of camp of people who put their prices out there, they're on their website, they're on their social media, whether that be actual lists, or maybe they'll just put like from a certain price or a ballpark figure, who kind of feel that they're already qualifying leads as they come into the business. So I'd be interested to know like how you feel about this, and what you kind of tell your clients about pricing. And
this is such a good question, Katie. This is like, so when I got to that stage of my business, and it's like, right, I'm going to increase my prices. This is what they're going to be. What do I do? Do I tell people or not? And I was seeking advice from lots of people, and they seemed to be split into the two camps. And I was like, so there's no right or wrong answer. However, now that I teach and now that I coach, I've got a very strong viewpoint on this. And for me, it is to be proud of your pricing, to tell people your pricing, and to be completely transparent about it from the off, to put it out there and to put it on your website. Do not be elusive. I find if you've got a high-end market and a high-end website and branding and everything else, it does not cheapen your branding by putting your prices out there. I've found more than anything, it annoys potential customers when they have to ask. It makes them feel awkward. It makes them think, but what if I can't afford these services? It's the number one thing that they're like, oh, I'm going to have to email them and ask. Oh, I don't want to ask. So that was just from the customer point of view. And me being a customer too, going, you know what, I don't like having to ask. I'm
the same. I'm exactly the same. If I'm looking to purchase something and I'm hopping on someone's website or on social medias, I like to know if I can afford what I'm looking at before I make a contact. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I would I would use it as something to be proud of, to associate with your brand, and to use it as like aspirational. And I was thinking about the wording we use, and I was thinking about how, just be warned, when you do this, you are going to cut off people. You are going to have a more focused audience. But that's not a bad thing. Please do not be scared about that. It really does, get clear cut on what you want and who you're marketing to. So when I think about people talking about your business and the words they use, it's not the words, it's how they say it. And I was listening to people talking at a wedding fair, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And they said, she is so expensive. Like it was really
yeah.
And then I've heard people go, she's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's just, and again, it's like, oh, so expensive. Oh, this is going to be so good. What a treat. Oh, I can't wait. As in, so expensive. Who does she think she is? That again, it's a mindset thing. And it's like, and there will always be people that are going to aspire and think, oh, it's going to push my budget, but I really, really want it. Yeah, absolutely. And that is throughout the wedding industry, and whatever the service or goods that you provide, you're always going to be too expensive for some, and you're going to be too cheap for others.
I think this is it, and kind of just to kind of reinforce your point, people do feel scared about alienating some part of their market, and we hear it a lot. We work with people about ideal clients, and we work with people on their social media and their marketing, and when we talk to them about their ideal client and who that is, quite often all we hear is brides.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, it's not. Let's work on that a little bit deeper. Like, it's not every bride that ever is to get married. Like, you're not, are you hitting the Kim K weddings, or are we talking about
like the more affordable
whereabouts are you on the scale? And I think people do feel kind of scared of saying, okay, no, I'm going to just target, let's say, you're a decor company that only wants to work with boho brides that want outdoor weddings in kind of rustic venues and barns. Now, people think
there's grass everywhere and lovely arches.
And they're the brides that you kind of want to work with. And people get so scared, don't they, by saying, I don't want to work with other brides. I don't want to do, you know, your beautiful glass centerpieces with flowers. They're not my weddings. This is what I want to work with. And that is a scary process for people.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely. I think that, again, so I was a part of the strategy and the PR strategy is identifying your avatar and your prices and your branding and everything. But then you're going to start building your tribe of who you want to be associated with in the wedding industry, because we're so interconnected and we're so often, you know, a bride will work. So you'll see the same. I would often go to a venue and I would see the same florist.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say, oh, where's your dress from? Oh, it's the same one, you know, like the lady I was working with last week got hers from. It's just, you create that tribe of trusted associates that you make them look good and they make you look good just by association. And often they will have a very similar avatar to you. They will have very similar pricing to you. So it's unlikely that you would have high ends and, you know, low end together. It is unlikely. It does happen. So again, it's like building up that tribe, people that you'd be proud to refer to, people that you want to be associated with, all in together, bouncing off each other. And again, a very similar price.
Yeah, and that's it as well. And we're massive fans of networking and massive fans of having a network. But these are conversations that you can have with other suppliers who have gone through the same processes. How have you tapped into the luxury end of the market? Did you always start in the luxury end of the market? You know, what do you do with your pricing? Where's that structured? And having kind of a network of other people doing similar things to you and having similar prices will kind of reaffirm that in you and give you that bit of confidence to kind of, why can't I go for this too?
Absolutely. So I was going to actually bring in the whole wedding fair strategy. And again, this was like so pinnacle to how I grew my business so quickly. And it kind of happened before really. I didn't intend on doing it. It just kind of happened. And again, it's what you just said, Kate. It was about having these, I would say, awkward conversations back then with other suppliers about pricing. Where they were, I think that they were awkward, but I do think more we should be having these conversations, and we should be having it certainly within our wedding industry forums. So I went to my first wedding fair really early on, within the first few months of starting. I was so naive. I really thought I would turn up at this wedding fair. It was expensive. I think it was like £180 to get a table, and this was, you know, like 10 years ago. And I thought, I'm going to go and I'm going to set up and I'm going to have people bringing cash and credit cards. And I thought by the end of it, I'm going to be booked out for the year. Job done. One wedding fair. Hello, I've arrived.
Ding.
Yeah, because I thought everyone who's getting married is going to go to a wedding fair, which again is crazy because I was actually married at this point and I never went to a wedding fair. So
it's funny. You know, I rocked up to our first wedding fair with kind of two mannequins and a few flyers, and then I was like, okay, this is not how we do it.
Absolutely. I was terrified as well. I was really felt out of my depth. I felt like the wedding industry, I love it now and I love how tight it can be, but I remember stepping in thinking everybody knows each other.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Two young girls rocking up to a wedding fair, like, who do they think they are? Remember the peacockers?
Yeah. Yeah. For us, it was a little bit different. So I had a team of staff. So we had like 4 or 5 girls. So we felt kind of comfortable with our little network. But 1000%, I have been to wedding fairs on my own when my business was very young. And
it can be a scary place.
It is. And like you said, there are some amazing people out there in contacts, and just have conversations and break down those barriers. Start with the people next to you on the tables. Talk to them about how they found the last 2 years in business, find some common ground, you know.
You have to put yourself out there, don't you? You can't just stand there behind your table, hoping that everything's going to come to you. You've got to go out there and get it for yourself.
Absolutely. So after a while, I've stood there going, this is awful, and I don't think my avatar is here. I don't know what to say to these people. I'm not making a connection. Like, I'm going to go and get a cup of coffee. I'm going to have a walk around. I'm going to go and have a look and everything. And just during that, I obviously spoke to the person who was on the stand next to me and the person on the other side of me. And then I spoke to a few of the wedding suppliers, just out of pure curiosity. I wasn't being, I'm going to sap them of information. It was just like, I just was really curious, because there were some services that I wasn't aware of that people even had at weddings. I think it was chocolate fountains back then were quite big. Yeah. and the one with the wedding, the bridal dresses, I was like, ooh, touchy, magpie effect. Ooh,
yeah.
Just like, admiring people's things. And then a few weeks later, I got an inquiry that, the lady that is doing my stationery, she said she knew you were at a wedding fair and she recommended me to you. Like, oh, wow. I was like, that's interesting. It's like, so I did get something from that wedding fair. It wasn't a bride who went to that fair, but it was a referral.
Yeah. We found this in wedding fairs, didn't we? And a little bit different from me. And I do feel like this, like you're there to market your business to brides. That's what suppliers, and they kind of go with this focused mind,
like
of
tunnel vision
of I'm there to kind of book X amount of people or speak to X amount of people throughout the day to justify my £180 that I've spent to be here or whatever it is. And we've stood at some fairs that cost us like upwards of 1,500 quid to be at, but that's another story. And I used to always spend time at the beginning when there's that quiet time where everyone's kind of set up, just go around and talk to people. If there was any lulls in the day, just go around and connect with suppliers. And it is actually surprising, and this is probably going back similar to you, Anna, about 10 years, how many people didn't do that then? And probably still don't do that. It's been a long time since I've been to a wedding fair now. But about making connections and thinking, and you always have to think about this, and it seems so obvious that people might have like 10 suppliers for their wedding, and you come in a line of people. So it's about then, making those other 10 people that are at that, also supplying that wedding, aware of you, so that when they talk to 10 brides, that's kind of even more communication getting out about your business.
Well, that's it. And so from that point onwards, I suddenly thought, it was like something like a light bulb moment. And I thought, actually, will my bride go to any of these fairs? And I've since actually realised now, unless the bride is getting married at this venue, she's very unlike, my type of bride is very unlikely to go to a wedding fair. She's likely to book everything online. That's my avatar. So, but then the problem was that a lot of my brides wanted somewhere a little bit different, a little bit quirky, and there weren't the sort of venues to have wedding fairs. So that's like, so I'm not going to find my ideal customer at a wedding fair. Okay, what if I went with the sole purpose? What if I actually make a plan? Again, what if I go really corporate? And I want to know these people. I want to get to know them. I want to ask questions. I want to be really nosy. I'm going to be really transparent as well. I'm not going to try and, suck information out of them. I just really want to learn. And then what if we can build collaborations? What if we can, to get together for a shoot? What if I could meet bloggers? What if I could meet magazine publishers? What if, I was thinking this is networking without realizing this is not about brides, actually. This is about the wedding industry. What if we can just come away from it having had a really nice chat and had a rant about a terrible wedding we had a few weeks ago, and they understand and that. So I went with that and I had a book, and this was all, the business card era. And I've still got it today, and it's just one of these folding books, and I've got everyone's business card in from these weddings. And I would then, and again, it's about being sincere. I wouldn't connect. It was some people that they really would tell you to go away. Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to say right from the get off, if don't do that. You really are. It's a rocky, it's a rocky road on the way up, and it's an even worse one on the way down. So really,
I think as well, nobody, when you read books and you look at motivational speakers or people that are really killing it in either the wedding industry or in business or anything, they never say they got there alone.
No.
Never.
Absolutely. It's collaboration over competition every single time. And I think what I did was certainly a little bit different and I would watch the vibe between, so there'd be a photographer on one side and a photographer on the other, and they'd be giving each other evils, and it's and I'm thinking, do you know what? I bet they've got a lot in common. They might even get on if they spoke. So I remember that particular time I went and spoke to every other makeup or hairstylist in the room. And I said, like, if I get a booking that I can't do, would it be okay to pass it on to you? Yeah. And then building those relationships over time, saying, do you want to meet up for a coffee? Just to have just to get it all off, to rant, to learn off each other. And they're still some of my closest friends in the industry. We can't do it alone. It can be a very lonely world, in the wedding business. And so again, I just don't understand why you've got to go together and you've got to go big. Don't shut people out and don't think, you're too big for somebody. It's, there's always going to be someone starting out, and there's also someone who's going to be very experienced. That's always going to be the way it is.
I think business and cocktails should never be done alone. Just my thoughts. But I'm very much about why we set up.
Exactly, yeah. That is literally
our business
what we
network,
are about. Yeah.
For these reasons, we had a premises, and I imagine, Anna, you kind of ran your business mainly from home and kind of from going to brides and kind of doing that. So we had a premises, so that would kind of attract people to us to network, and unfortunately take me and some of my staff away from their job. And it was getting to a point where we would have a box of business cards underneath our desk, and we were handing things out to people, and we wanted to network. We really did want to network. And that's why we kind of created a space for businesses to be able to connect, and events where people could kind of connect and meet other people. But 100%, and I know people listening will have had experiences where they've been to wedding fairs and thought, there's somebody else there that does exactly what I do. That feels a little bit awkward. Whereas the vast majority of people, when confronted as well, and we've had people that have been quite unfriendly, like maybe you mentioned as well, Anna, that have not been the most willing or most, welcoming. And that gives off an impression of that person's business. That's what is my next thought that goes through my mind, is, well, you're not somebody I'm ever going to kind of recommend to anybody, or kind of cost nothing, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Absolutely. I really do feel they've got a ceiling to their success level as well. I don't think they'll ever grow. Another thing that I feel that you're always PRing, you're always branding, whatever you do. So for me personally, I would take that to the day when I was working in the wedding suite, getting everyone ready. It's like right now, I am my business, I'm representing. And I mean, I find it really easy because I love it as well. But, imagine when a photographer or the florist turns up and you know them and the bride sees you talking to them. You imagine the amount of trust they're going to feel and the assurance and the nice vibe. And it's the little things that you can do even then just to add to it. It's like saying, yes, I'm nothing's too much trouble. I'm open to working with everybody. I just want to help. And it just, the difference between people that don't talk to each other or even work in the bridal room and they actually are negative about other wedding businesses.
Yeah.
It's so bad on them. It really, really does. So I don't understand why people would do it.
I think I always used to say about that to Noah, I was like, you focus on me and I'll focus on me, thanks. Let's see who grows the business. It is definitely a funny one. So, you've talked lots about kind of PR today and kind of in terms of pricing, and then also really interested in what you were saying there about kind of you as your business owner is a part of that, isn't it?
Absolutely. You are. I mean, I know some people are going, no, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at work and I'm going to come home and, there'll be like, I think in the wedding industry, especially, it's like, no, you're you are yourself. You are your brand. And I think as soon as you can accept that, and so it's not a bad thing. It doesn't have to be. It's not draining. It's not going to impede on your personal life. It's just going, I am my brand. Whoever I am and what I'm good at and what I'm proud of is great. And I'm going to put it out there. And again, you're not going to attract everybody. And I would say to people as well, you are going to get some negativity in it. As soon as you decide to put your branding out there and put yourself out there and increase your prices, you're no longer a pleaser. You're no longer a people pleaser. And I've had some negativity, and I've had it certainly within the wedding industry. This is really interesting. So I am friends with my other makeup artists, and we go to the gym together sometimes. We don't actually do anything at the gym. We sit there with a latte and chat, and then look at people on the treadmill. So we're talking about our bookings and our traffic at the minute. As you know, in Wedding Boss, I work with Simon, SEO master, and it's all about traffic and and analytics and getting your stats in. And I think I've gone a little bit geeky since then. So we're talking about traffic, and I said, I've got a traffic problem at the minute. I've not got a conversion problem. And she said, it could be a conversion problem because your prices are quite high. And for a second, that almost wounded me. It was like, I went, oh. And I was like, actually, no, that's her block, actually. That's her insecurity coming through because, And also at that point, I knew it was not my conversion. It was the traffic coming, the COVID issue. It was the traffic. So, so really when people do criticize you or show any negativity, I always want people to remember it is about them. It's everything about them. It's not about you.
So how people tend to feel that they have to justify the price, don't they? So if I was to say, to work with me is X amount of money, naturally my brain then wants to,
this is what you're going to get. Like, this is why I cost that much.
Yeah, go into all of that how do people get around that really? Is it a case of just putting your prices out there and then quiet and let the pricing talk for itself and your experience and your branding?
Know your worth
and your business? Or is it, do you actually need to say, right, this is my price, this is my point of difference,
this is kind of back up the prices that you're putting out there?
That is so interesting. And I'm thinking, when I'm working with people one-to-one now, I now find it doesn't matter what I tell them or what I teach them. First, I've got to get that mindset change. So, just Roxy, you go, know my worth. Yes, you have to do this in your head. You have to get round that you are worth it. It's such a personalised service, especially in the wedding industry. I can, when you're saying about your business, you weren't just selling someone a dress. It was so much more. I mean, I watched the programs too, the dress programs. This is like something so personal. This is like someone's journey.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have that experience they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. And hopefully it'll be a really good one. And it's like, that's the value. It's the person, you really have to get it into your head. I think about why you would pay something yourself for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you pay? What, that number's not been thrown out somewhere. You were comfortable paying something. You bought your car. You're obviously comfortable paying that price for it. Why? What was that about? It could be with absolutely anything. It could be about where you have dinner. It could be about where you buy your clothes. Why are you comfortable with that price point, and why? And like we say with clothing, it's not simply about, keeping warm, is it? There's so much more to it. So once I've worked on someone's mindset about why they're worth that, then they can carry that confidence into them. They don't have to justify their prices. They don't have to justify them to anybody. Interestingly, the only person I get funny about justifying my prices to is my mum. Even now. Yeah, and I think that will always be the case, because you imagine, certain generation, So when my mum got married, it would have been like down the pub at lunchtime, and then they would have gone on honeymoon that night, and there would have been 20 people from work and a buffet. Yeah. That's it. They're going, you don't need to get your makeup done for your wedding. People pay that. Oh, Anna.
Yeah. It's funny, and there's always someone that's got an opinion, isn't there, like you were saying?
Always an opinion. I think with pricing, this also kind of does boil down to something that we talk about all the time, and we spoke about not so long ago on this podcast, is that client avatar. You won't need to justify your prices because you're going to be totally in line with your ideal clients.
Absolutely. So they know, and it's I think what I do, it's the trust. They absolutely know that they can completely rely on me to, and it's not just about putting the makeup on, to just make them feel incredible. They don't have to worry, they don't have to stress. Of course I'm going to turn up. That's not even in question. And it's going to be all about them. And it's the stress factor. It's and whatever. I know for me, like my superpower thing is, the more stressy a situation gets, I get very, very calm. And I think when I'm ever feeling, am I worth this? I go, no, that is my superpower. I am very, very good at that. And the fact that I can, put someone's makeup on with 2 cameras in my face and bridesmaids freaking out in the background, I think I was saying that justifies my price alone in my head. So whatever it is, if you find what are you really good at in what you do, one thing, that's more than enough. That's more than enough for the rest of your business career. That will be your superpower, and you'll never need to justify a price to yourself or anyone apart from your mum ever again.
Yeah, that's great. And then it's not just a case of getting pricing right, is it, Anna? And this is something that people might feel, something's not quite working in my business. What could it be? And they automatically go to price. I'll drop the price, or it's got to be price. And I quite often than not, is it you've proved the point, you can charge kind of what you want for your prices. That's not what it is. It actually is going to be the whole thing, is the experience you're giving people, the expectation of that price point, is your branding, is your website, and everything kind of flowing together. Is your logo? What does your social media say about you? What social media platforms are you on? What wedding fairs are you standing at? But for some reason, it's always price. Or I'll drop my prices.
And also, then that comes the answer of, okay, so let's drop the prices.
Absolutely, that is the hottest. Yeah. Oh, I've got such an opinion on this. That is the last thing you should do. It's the panic go-to, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's not working. Oh, I feel funny about them. Oh, I knew it. I was charging too much. And I always say, it's the last thing. I promise it's absolutely the last thing. There'll be some other chink somewhere along the funnel. Yeah. It will not be it won't be the pricing. If someone's got to a certain point of inquiring and they know what you charge, it's not the pricing. It will be, so you've got to start at thinking it's going to be your traffic, it's going to be your marketing, it might be your ads, it might be your copy, so it might be your client handling system. It could be something really minor, like a broken link, in your website. But you need to be constantly on top of everything like this and looking at it and, getting geeky and getting the spreadsheets out.
I think that's it. And then looking at other people. So look at other people's websites. Yeah. The other suppliers that are also, charging similar prices to you, not just the other makeup artists or the other florists in what you do, but look at, what kind of language if you're a makeup artist, do the celebrants use? What kind of language do the florists use? What kind of language do the, dress retailers use that are serving the same client as me? It is interesting, isn't it? And, price money is such a kind of funny taboo subject.
I think the thing to remember is there are thousands of other businesses in the industry out there doing similar to what you are doing, who are charging the prices they want. So it totally can be done, can't it?
Absolutely. And I would even dare people to get quite audacious.
Yeah.
pricing. I really, really would. What's the worst that could happen? Seriously, you're not gonna hurt anybody. You know, if it really, really doesn't work somewhere down the line, like it's been an absolute thing, you can always change it. It's not a problem, and no one's going to laugh at you and go, "Oh, you charge too much," you know, when you've had to change your prices. But I would really encourage it. I quite literally, I think when I had that overnight light bulb moment of going, "This is going to be part of my PR." I tripled my prices. I really did. Yeah. And I was like, and it was really scary, but then it just became the norm.
Yes. Yeah.
It really does, and we need to push. I
think you made a really good tip before about get a spreadsheet out. It doesn't need to be a spreadsheet, but something structured. So don't do it on like little bits of notes that are going to get lost amongst. I'm a note taker, so I have notes everywhere, and I have my messy notes that mean nothing to me, and then I have my like.
I'm so proud of myself nowadays that I can just like I understand. Yeah, I understand your notes.
Yeah. Because I'm definitely, you know, maybe people can relate. When you're on the telephone, I quite often like jot down keywords that was mentioned in the phone call or something that mean nothing to anybody. Yeah, don't do it like that. Do it kind of, give yourself half an hour. But when you actually have it black and white in front of you, right, this is how much I charge. This is how many weddings I can actually do physically. I am one person. So, and that's if I book myself out every weekend, which what's the likelihood of that happening? You know, how much am I then going to make at the end of this? And is that enough? Is that going to provide you with the life that you want? Is that going to pay your bills, pay your mortgage? And I know that you wanted to talk about burnout, didn't you, Anna, a little bit about, you know, doing it this way is going to stop that burnout.
Absolutely. It's doing it from the start. And it's funny you were actually saying about, you know, gathering data and getting stuff down. I was the same. My problem was I thought that if it was on my computer, so it wasn't cluttering up room with paper, it was fine. I actually then, a few years ago, I had to literally go back to business school and actually learn the difference between files and folders and recording data and getting stuff organised on my computer. So, and it was actually like my other half looked at my computer at one point and went, "How have you got so far?" Honestly, it's like you've got it all here, but it's not, you know, you're really causing yourself problems. And that is part of the burnout. You're thinking, how can I burn out on a job that I absolutely love? And, you know, I could work every weekend. I've just actually, a colleague, she's relaunched her website today on Facebook, and it's absolutely beautiful, really, really. And she said, "Oh, I can't wait. I'm aiming for 70 weddings this year," she said. And I straight away, I've done the maths in my head. I'm like, you're never going to get a weekend off for the rest of your life. Which so people to really think about that. Like, could you maybe charge more and do less weddings and have a better life for everybody? I mean, are you ever going to see your children again?
I think that's a really, really good point, is that, okay, you could do 70 weddings a year, but what was the point in starting the business?
It's 1,000% not sustainable.
No, it's not.
And at the beginning, that's how we kind of feel. I can do it. I'm going to take on everything.
Go all the time.
I'm going to take on everything. I can do it. You said I can't do it. Watch me do it. And I've definitely felt like that at moments in my business.
And I think you know, why did you start your business in the first place? Was it so you could have more free time? Because if it was, you kind of, you know, you're not going to be able to achieve that anyway.
Yeah, everybody wants this. It totally makes sense to do. And everybody wants to be able to work less and earn more.
I do.
Who doesn't want to?
Do you want to do that?
Yes, please.
I think, though, especially, women are so guilty of it. It's like,
oh, yes.
I'll burn out and I'll be a martyr, and that'll be a sign of my success. Look how hard I've worked. Look at the state of me. Look at me. Yeah. Look, I've earned this. I've earned this success. Look at the blood and the sweat and the eventual burnout. And I don't know why we do it. It is. I've noticed, because I do work with more women than men. And men are so much more black and white about it, and they're very much like, no, I'm not doing it, and this is why. That's quite simple.
Yeah, well, not even this is why. I mean,
do we have to justify? Or feel like we have to justify everything? Like, okay, I'm gonna
very much so. Like when I met my partner, he very much if people contacted him after hours or on a weekend, no, like, and although that can come from an employee mindset, he is employed. He is quite up in his career, so he would be expected to deal with like emergencies, which he would deal with, but 9 times out of 10 it's
unimportant stuff.
It's not an emergency. Whereas
this is something that we've learned as well.
Yeah, we definitely do this now, and I actually spoke to you about this and you said
this is making me laugh. Yes, I remember.
You were like, high five, Katie, because I said, "Oh no, sorry, I don't work evenings
at all, ever,
categorically." And that's come from 2 things. I had to learn and kind of think, you know, I don't actually want to get the laptop out every single night anymore. Like, that's not the life I want. I don't want my children to say, "Mummy, why are you always on your phone?" Like, that is a killer, isn't it? When they say to you, "Mummy, why are you always working?" Or "Why are you always on your phone?" I'm like, ugh. And
really
because it's 8:30 at night and you're trying to do 3 things at once, put them to bed and answer an inquiry or whatever.
And I've learned as well, it can wait till tomorrow. And this is something that you've taught me, is that it can wait. Nothing's that urgent. Unless it obviously is what's going to be that urgent that you need to reply, like, right now at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I say that a lot.
Yeah, because I'm quite like, oh, I need to do it.
You can be a little bit of a worrier, can't you? Yeah. So I kind of say to you,
it's the anxiety thing. Like.
Nothing is urgent. Like, breathe. Like, nothing is urgent. Like, you were saying, you can kind of remain quite calm in the situation.
Definitely have to train yourself to do that. It's the mindset again, isn't it?
I think that's something that we should share within the wedding industry, because I was just thinking when we were communicating about doing this podcast, and Kate, you said, "I don't work evenings," and I have to say it did trigger me a little bit. I went, "Oh, yeah, I've got to get this sorted." My daughter's 13, my son is 5, and throughout I went back to work within weeks of him being born. It was right in the middle of wedding season.
But we have to do these things. And, you know, when my children were little, 1000%, I was a single mum. My son was about 4 and my daughter was 1. And I became a single mum overnight. My husband upped and left. Like, that's what happened. And for all sorts of reasons, you tell yourself, I've got to work, like, where's the money coming from? I really need to do this. And we have, you know, there will be times where you have to put in the hours, isn't there? And there will be times where you have to just get on with it and knuckle down, and it's wedding season and it's busy, and for the next 6 weeks I am not going to come up for air. But after that, I'm going to go on a day out with the kids, and I'm going to take some rest and respite for me. Don't beat yourself up too much about the people that are sitting there thinking, "Oh God, I still work with Kensington evenings." I had to burn out, and I severely burnt out, put myself in hospital from just working too much and stress, as well as some personal things that were going on in my life. I had to have that happen to me for me to then go, right, something's got to change here. Like, what is it that's going to change? And I use trash TV, so Dragon's Den and any reality TV or whatever it is, as my self-care, because it's TV I don't need to think about. Like, I don't need to think about it, and that switches me off for the night to go to sleep.
And I've done a similar thing as you know, had that burnout. So anyone listening, like, don't do it our way, because it's not the right way, and it takes a while to come back from that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can fall out of love with your business a little bit when that happens, when you actually push yourself so much, whether it's your pricing that's wrong, or, you know, the customers that you're going after, are the types of customers that, God, they want blood from you. You kind of start to resent what you do and resent your business a little bit.
Absolutely, and I think it's so good that you've put that out there and go, this is what happened to me. Don't do it. It's not the way to go. This is what actually happens, and it is actually really common. And I actually got my burnout. It was actually during lockdown in the first one, when I wasn't working. It's because I decided, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there online. I'm going to commit to 3 weekly lives and work, you know, I'm going to do chat about beauty and health and, you know, makeup, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to do it. and I'm not going to get paid for this. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to keep myself out there. And I just felt like the life being drained out of me. I was just give. And people were getting demanding, even though I wasn't getting paid. They're going,
oh yeah, this happens to us as well.
It was like constantly on my phone with questions and help and advice. And I just felt, and because I wasn't getting anything in return, I just felt
sucking the life. Yeah,
absolutely, it was sucking the life out of me. So, and I was like, again, so that's again where I was like, right, when we get back to normal, which I know we never will, but when we get back to working our weddings, I'm going to structure my business and do things in such a way. What will give me the lifestyle I want? Oh, it's that thing we don't like talking about. It's money. It's money, isn't it? It's a tool to do what we want and to have more freedom. So therefore, pricing, I need, and also scalability. And I know that's a completely different topic, but it's thinking everyone's got a ceiling, whatever the business, there's got to be a way that we can do less and still at least have a semi-passive income. So, I mean, I know that is a whole different topic, but you've got to be thinking along those lines because everyone's got a burnout.
And also, and it's not just burnout, it's about your exit strategy in your business. So at what point are you then can't do 50 weddings a year because, for whatever reason you want to retire? What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
What's the plan kind of down the line? We kind of got into probably semi-passive and passive income about 3.5 years ago now when we kind of first started.
Yeah.
So pre-COVID, luckily for us that we already had some models that kind of ticked over during COVID. But it is something that the wedding industry have kind of gone, oh, like if I'm physically not at a wedding providing my service or haven't got stationary orders coming in or, my income dries up.
I'm not getting paid,
Yeah, and how you can do that. And even if you just charge a bit more and you put it aside for a rainy day fund, it doesn't have to be, you might be listening to this thinking, do you know what? I don't have massive aspirations in my business. I don't have, in my personal life, I don't want, the big house, big car, the big, 10 holidays a year, whatever it is. I'm quite happy where I am in my business. We don't know what tomorrow kind of holds. And the last kind of 2 years has shown us, isn't it? With a click of a finger, a government can kind of shut a whole industry down. And, having backup plans or even just being able to charge a little bit more to then put money aside for situations like this so that you and your family and your kids and your bills get paid and all of that kind of happens.
I think it's really, really important it's almost like coming to terms with talking about the money side of your business. Get yourself into a habit of it, like, we're in our bank quite a lot, do we need to pay for this? Like, do we still need, it's really important to keep on top of everything money.
Yeah, but I hate talking about money. I really
wow.
It's not I hate talking. It does make you feel a little bit awkward.
I do get a bit of actual anxiety when I open the banking app. I'm like, but it's just we do need to get more used to it.
Yeah, I think it's more. I don't know. I don't know if it's almost always like a bit authority or like, is it like how people measure their worth or I don't know. Like if I was to speak to mortgage advisors, I would feel nervous about that. Why?
It's funny. So I really was like this, and I did. I don't know if you've ever heard of Denise Duffield Thomas and Money Bootcamp. So she has this book, and you can get it on audio.
We'll put the link for this in the description.
Absolutely. So, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and it's all about money, mind blocks, and after I read the book, I was like, I'm going to join her Money Bootcamp, and it's a course. And it just changed the way I thought. I did it over a period of 6 months, and it's one of those lifetime courses, so you can dip into it anytime. And she's got the forum, and it really just makes you suddenly, you're like, why are we not having these conversations? Why are we so funny about money? Why are we? We should be having these conversations, and also we're passing this on to our kids. Whatever. It's like, people that avoid the bills or don't go into the bank account, or even as I was thinking with the wedding industry, I bet there's some people that at the end of, they're providing their service or their goods almost want to go, oh, that was so lovely, have it for free. I don't want
Or how much profit they make. Or can you tell me how much profit you make when you sell one of your services? Or it is really interesting, isn't it? It's definitely, like you say, a mind mindset, mind block kind of thing. It's been really interesting. We're going to have to get you back on again, Anna, because there's so much to kind of delve into here, isn't it? And how much pricing actually then affects other areas of the business. It'd be great to kind of have you back on. Tell us a little bit towards the end about Wedding Boss and what you're kind of doing now, because you're kind of teaching these strategies to other wedding professionals, aren't you?
Yeah, so I was always doing this. I think I was a mentor, but it was meant to, makeup artists, I would say. Yeah. Again, that was a work thing. I can't teach other wedding businesses. I just do makeup. What do I know? And then realised, actually, I should probably turn this into a legit business. And this was all set up and ready to go. And then, COVID. And, I was thinking, looking back, the wedding industry probably needed support and advice and marketing more than ever. But I think during that time I was like, it's just not ready. And then I started doing some workshops with Simon Hobden, who is an SEO genius. There's nothing that man does not know about SEO. He's also a wedding photographer, but he's aspirational to me and to others in that he loves doing it. That's not his main thing. He will happily go and do a wedding, and he certainly charges his worth, but that he's got his priorities straight. He's more about, so he teaches SEO and strategy to other wedding businesses. And I started doing a few workshops with Simon because I think that our two talking points in marketing go quite well hands in hand. We're from very different backgrounds, got very different skills, but they do go very well hand in hand. I've said before, I do specialise in Pinterest. Pinterest is a search engine, which I know people forget about. So Pinterest SEO works really well. We did a few workshops. They went really well. And we thought, you know what, we're going to turn this into an affordable coaching membership for the wedding industry in general. And we want to have, again, collaborate, create that lovely community, bring people together. People can just get advice, we can lean on each other, we can collaborate, and we can help each other. We've got quite strict rules already in the group, and it's quite simply, if you're going to be any of that, Debbie Downer, negative talk, go away. We don't want any of that. And it's going to be collaboration over competition. And you can join our membership and you get access to all Simon and ours teaching, which is mainly SEO and Pinterest. Yeah, and obviously PR, and we do a live weekly coaching session, and that's on at Thursdays at 8 p.m. and it's whatever's talked about that week. We go on and we'll answer questions live, but there are replays in the group as well.
These kind of things are really important, like especially came across you and I was like, need to introduce us and talk to these other people in the industry. It'll be really great to kind of help one another out, and we've come and talked to your community, you're now coming to talk to our community, which is really great. And it's really good for businesses. We've said it a couple of times, guys, burnout, business is lonely, trying to do everything. And when you think about how many hats you put on, we've talked about pricing today, we've touched on marketing, we've touched on wedding fairs,
mindset,
but there's so many things that you do in your business, accounting, the list goes on, having some other people that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, or going through it with you. It honestly is priceless, isn't it? It's been so lovely to have you on, Anna. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
I'm going to get that book.
I just love the title anyway.
Me and Roxy actually scheduled time in our business this morning to wait for.
I feel proud.
For book time, because I've got all these books that I buy and I never have time to read them. So I was like, right.
So we're going to call it business development time. Can't wait.
And that's going to be a couple of hours a week I've now got an excuse to sit.
We will learn.
Which I'm really excited
about. That's my top tip. Get it on Audible. And then you can be doing something else and it's on in the background, or you can be driving, whatever. I've not actually read a physical book for quite a while because I just do everything on audio.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Great idea.
This is
why have I never thought of this? I mean, I listen to podcasts while I'm driving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for that. Thanks.
I might try that one. Yeah, I don't know why.
Do it. Make that your first Audible. The author actually reads it. So I think that's really good. But that is my absolute favourite book of the last few years.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you so much for being on, Anna. We'll pop all of the links in our show notes, guys, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.